Hey folks, so GPT 5.4 codex model might just be around the corner and its release is quite imminent. We have got interesting data to back it up. So let's get to the screen and I'll show you what I mean. So we have this article from Punica Web and the headline says, did OpenAI just accidentally confirm GPT 5.4? Now they have this update that they covered. We will get to this later on. So let's just scroll down and start with the original article and see what happened. So an OpenAI engineer opened a pull request in the company's public codex GitHub repo yesterday, working on better image support for the view image tool. The idea was to skip compression and preserve full resolution images when a feature flag is on, and the model is new enough. The version cut off in the original draft, GPT 5.4 or newer. Okay, so this is the pull request that is in question, and if you will see now, if I go back to the article, this is the original snapshot, and this is the same pull request. Add original resolution support for view image. This is the tool, and then we have the same verbiage here. Add original resolution support for view image. Now if we go to, you can see the edited tag here. If I go to this drop down and we see this release, then hey, what do we have here? When the flag is enabled and the target model is GPT 5.4. So it was GPT 5.4 initially, and then this guy, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, but dash OAI just means OpenAI. So he is associated with OpenAI, and now later on, initially he mentioned that GPT 5.4 or newer, but later he just edited the commit to mention GPT 5.3 codex or newer. So that's the interesting tidbit that we have to begin with. And then we have that one line called screenshotted immediately. This guy on Twitter was among the first to report it. Okay. Then the development came right after these two users shared screenshots of GPT 5.4 showing up in the Codex app model selector. That too was accidentally leaked by an OpenAI employee, Tibo, on X. That post is now deleted. So this is the screenshot that we have, and hey, you can see GPT 5.4 here. Then secret, in the Codex app you can enable an experimental feature for hotkey to pop up a mini window. So that's the feature that he was trying to showcase, and he accidentally ended up showing GPT 5.4. And by the way, do note here that we just have the model, we have GPT 5.3 codex, we don't have GPT 5.3 yet. So GPT 5.4 coming before that is a bit skeptical, right? But we'll get to that. Okay, let's read on. The PR was quietly updated hours later to read GPT 5.3 codex or newer with force pushes right after. Here's a screenshot of it now. So yeah, and like we saw, it just says GPT 5.3 codex or newer. Okay, so yeah, then GPT 5.3 codex launched February 5 with faster speeds and better terminal and computer use performance. 3 weeks in, and a newer version is already being referenced in code. The feature itself adds support for passing original PNG, JPEG and WebP bytes straight to the responses API with detail, original, clearly built with model-specific behavior in mind. And we spotted A/B tests recently that pointed to a ChatGPT 5.3 rollout with hints of a Thursday launch, but that never came through. So take these release timelines loosely. This could very well be a slip up, a simple copy paste mistake, or a placeholder. It happens, but between the code wording and the model selector sightings in the Codex app, GPT 5.4 is clearly real enough to already be referenced internally. OpenAI ships fast, and this is just more proof of that. Okay, now let's get to the update. All right. And here we have the update. This is just from a couple of hours ago. GPT 5.4 has now appeared in a second OpenAI Codex pull request. This time, the code includes a direct function call using GPT 5.4 as the model argument, plus the / command explicitly described as toggle fast mode for GPT 5.4. So this guy on X, who flagged the original PR last week, confirmed this in the second such mention. Okay, and if we go to this tweet, I think this is from the same person. Yep. it is. So here you can see toggle fast mode for GPT 5.4. And the original tweet is GPT 5.4 is coming. This is now the second time an OpenAI Codex pull request contains mentions of GPT 5.4. And we also have another snapshot where you can see this from the Codex code on GitHub. And here we see 5.4 mentioned as well. Okay, so is GPT 5.4 really around the corner, right? Now, let's get to a couple of more tweets, and then we will talk more about it. Okay, so this new Codex pull request mentions GPT 5.4 and a fast mode that seems to enable the use of priority tier, faster responses, lower latency. This might also be related to the new $100 subscription tier that is apparently coming. This is another rumor that we have. Okay, but what is the priority tier? Okay, there was this gentleman in the comment section who was kind enough to elaborate. Priority is just service tier set as priority. If nothing changed, it's been on the API for months and can be used with Codex with any existing model by either firstly patching Codex or second running an LLM proxy to auto append that parameter. It's 2x the cost for lower latency plus a bit higher throughput. So this has always been there. There is nothing that we have to be skeptical about here, that hey, this is, and like, you know, the crazy thing here is that I really thought that I knew that I was on top of the news about Codex and all the other models, etc. But then you sort of just come across new parameters daily and it's like, oh, you know, I didn't know that. Okay, but well, you learn something new daily, don't you? So this is what we have so far, and this is just the add fast mode toggle. This is just the very pull request that he mentioned, and then we have honestly not that surprising, considering that GPT 5.1 came out in November, GPT 5.2 in December, and 5.3 Codex came at the beginning of February. OpenAI has been farming insane amounts of data with the double Codex rate limits and wipe shift. Okay, so I actually did create a table and I wanted to see what is the release timeline of the OpenAI models lately. So I have compiled this list from or not me, rather ChatGPT did that. So we have this list from 2018, from GPT-1 all the way back. So GPT-1 came out in 2018. A year later we had GPT-2, then GPT-3 in June 2020, 3.5 in November 2022. This was the aha moment when ChatGPT sort of just took off. This was the first model that shipped, that was fine-tuned for ChatGPT. Then we got GPT-4 in March of 23, 4.5 in February 25, which was almost 2 years later. Then a couple of months later, in April 25, 4.1. Codex came a year later in May 16, 2025. Then we have the general GPT-5 launch in August 25. Then GPT-5 Codex in September. Then 5.1 in November, 5.1 Codex just a day later in November as well. Then Codex Max a week later. 5.2 was December 11. 5.2 Codex was again a week later, just before Christmas. And then we had 5.3 Codex in February. So just take a look at the insane pace at which OpenAI is shipping models, right? And so, well, if you just go as per this timeline, then yeah, maybe 5.4 is around the corner. There is some credibility to those rumors. But we have another couple of okay, we'll just go back to the article. I'll circle back to that again. And at the end of the update, which was a couple of hours ago, it says separately, this guy claims that alpha GPT 5.4 was spotted in a public models endpoint and teases an imminent rollout with major spec upgrades. There is no independent sourcing to back that up, so treat it accordingly. 2 PRs in 1 week referencing GPT 5.4 by name is notable on its own. Okay, so we are still going to talk about what this guy mentioned, but just take that with a grain of salt since we don't have any credibility to back it up. Okay, so this is what we have. This is what this guy wrote. Alpha GPT 5.4 was just spotted in a public models endpoint and those deleted Codex GitHub pull request leaks are 100% real. OpenAI is gearing up to drop this way sooner than anyone anticipated, likely as early as next week, and it is going to completely reset the board. Forget the incremental updates we have been getting lately. This is the true generational leap we have been waiting for, and here is exactly why it is going to melt your mind. Then he says, the most massive shift is going to be the memory and context architecture. The whispers are, and he hasn't mentioned whether he has some sources inside of OpenAI or where did he get these whispers from. But anyway, let's go on. The whispers are pointing towards a colossal 2 million token window coupled with genuine stateful AI. Stateful AI just means that the model will have context of whatever earlier you had talked to it across chats. It will keep that context. Earlier what used to happen was that if you sort of if the chat got long enough or you start a new conversation, then the model lost context of the information that you shared with it earlier. By having a genuine stateful AI, what that means is that it will retain all that context, and this is really big if it's true. Then he says, and well, he explains the meaning as well after this, meaning it actually remembers your entire workflow, environment, and tool states across sessions. You won't have to endlessly remind the model about your project structure or prompt history anymore, because it will inherently understand the persistent context of what you are building. Then Vision is also getting a crazy stealth upgrade that developers are going to love. The leaked pull request specifically mentioned a feature flag to bypass compression and preserve full resolution original bytes for GPT-5.4 or newer, which is huge. This translates to pixel perfect visual analysis, meaning front-end devs, designers, and engineers can finally upload exact UI mockups or complex schematics, and the model will actually see the granular details without hallucinating over a compressed blurry mess. So how does it stack up against the heavyweights like Gemini 3.1 Pro and Claude 4.6? While the competition has been fighting over incremental reasoning benchmarks, 5.4 is built to completely leapfrog them by shifting from a conversational chatbot to an autonomous agentic worker. We are talking about a model that doesn't just give you a snippet of code or a text answer, but actively executes multi-step background tasks with near perfect reliability, making current state-of-the-art models feel like simple calculators by comparison. So that is, well, I don't know. That is a lot of hype. I'm not sure if it's true. Just take it with a grain of salt. I'm going to repeat that again. My official prediction is a classic surprise rollout next Tuesday or Wednesday to entirely hijack the industry narrative. OpenAI knows the open source community and rival labs are breathing down their necks, so dropping a hyper efficient agentic powerhouse that integrates flawlessly into enterprise system is their kill shot. Get your API credits sorted and clear your schedule, because the second that endpoint officially unlocks, the race to build the next wave of autonomous apps begins. Okay, so there is a lot of speculation in these series of tweets. So yeah, definitely take these with a grain of salt. And in fact, that's what a lot of people if you go to the Explore tab, I'll link all these sources down below. But if you go to the, I just found all of this courtesy of Twitter. And then, hey, a lot of people are just saying that we'll get to this bit in a moment. But yeah, everyone is like, hey, GPT-5.4 looks imminent. There are rumors that are pointing to this. A 2 million context window. GPT-5.4 is coming. And then this guy is like over 100,000 views, and it's just a leak Nick completely made up because he has no internal info. Have we really come down to this? So people are sort of questioning whether what this guy is saying, whether it's even genuine or is he lying. And then 2 million tokens on top of other improvements is huge, etc., etc. And then we'll have Codex will soon have a permanent masterclass. The overclass will use the fast tier, and then chronically online team saw my post and hotfixed it. So yeah, people are just sort of going after each other. So this was the guy who originally saw this 5.4 or newer thing, and then he's like, hey, this guy at OpenAI and team OpenAI, this is the guy who authored the pull request, and then he's like, hey, he saw that and he then just fixed it. Okay, and I think this pull request was authored by another person, and this one that we had where this one that we covered in the update. This was I think this one he's talking about. Yeah, so toggle fast mode for GPT-5.4, and then he just says that chronically online people saw my post and then just hot fixed it, lol. Okay, so anyway, this kind of things just keep happening on Twitter. So that's why it's like, Twitter is quite a fun place to be in, sort of if you just want to have live entertainment, live drama. So yeah, that's what sometimes it's interesting to be on X. Okay. So yeah, lastly, if what this guy Nick said is true, then well, what will end up probably happening is that 2 million token context plus persistent state is KV cache explosion. This is the memory wars in real time, HBM for weights, SRAM for latency critical inference, optical interconnects to bind it all. The bifurcation I have been writing about isn't theoretical anymore. So there were a lot of technical terms and I wasn't really clear about what this guy meant. Well, so I actually asked ChatGPT to explain that to me. So what does he mean? I'm sort of going to break it down. So this post is using dense AI infrastructure shorthand. Here's what it means in plain English. GPT 5.4 leak, 2 million context plus persistent state equals KV cache explosion. A token is a chunk of text. I think all of us know that just a context window just means how much data you can feed to the AI, and then how much data it can sort of work on, it can have in its memory, and it can just produce the relevant output. But also to keep in mind that a lot of companies claim that, hey, like we have this 1 million context limit. Almost all flagship models have a context limit of 1 million tokens. But the effective memory of a model before it sort of just starts forgetting is usually, from my experience, it's around 200k tokens. And I think a lot of other people have also said the same thing, that it's around that 250k mark that is really the operatable limit. And after that, models tend to sort of forget, and you will have to remind them, okay, this is what we're talking about. But yeah, anyway, let's go on. So this is what the 2 million context limit means, and a token is a chunk of text. A 2 million context window would mean the model can run and reason over an enormous amount of text at once, roughly 1 million words. That's huge. For comparison, most large models historically handled far less than what is persistent state. Normally, when you start a new chat, the model has no memory unless it's explicitly given context again. Persistent state suggests that the model keeps memory across sessions or maintains long-running internal state without resending everything every time. That increases memory pressure. KV cache explosion. This is the technical core. Transformer models like the GPT systems store key value cache during inference. So every token processed generates attention keys and values. These are stored so the model can attend back to the previous tokens efficiently. The longer the context, the bigger the KV cache gets. And with 2 million tokens, large model size, persistent memory, the KV cache becomes enormous, potentially consuming hundreds of gigabytes per session, depending on the architecture. That's the explosion. It's not about compute, it's about memory bandwidth and storage during inference. Then, what does the memory wars in real time mean? This refers to the idea that we are no longer bottlenecked mainly by compute, we are bottlenecked by the memory systems. At AI scaling is now about memory bandwidth, latency, interconnect speed, on-chip versus off-chip memory hierarchy. Companies aren't just competing on model size, they are competing on memory architecture as well. Then, high bandwidth memory is a type of stacked memory that is used in GPUs. It has very high bandwidth, it is close to the compute units, it stores model weights. Large models require hundreds of GBs of weight storage, and HBM feeds the GPUs fast enough. SRAM for latency critical inference. So static random access memory is much faster than DRAM. It has very low latency. It is built directly on top of a chip. It is very expensive per bit. For ultra low latency inference, SRAM can store the active KV cache slices, handle attention lookups, reduce memory round trips. But SRAM doesn't scale well in capacity, so it must be used strategically. Then, as models scale across many GPUs or chips, electrical connections become a bottleneck. Optical interconnects use light instead of copper, reduce heat, increase bandwidth, allow longer distance, high-speed communication. This becomes necessary when KV cache spans across multiple devices, model parallelism stretches across racks. Big labs and chip companies are investing heavily here. Then the bifurcation I have been writing about isn't theoretical anymore. The bifurcation likely refers to the split in the AI system design into two camps. So firstly, we have compute dense training clusters, which have massive GPU arrays optimized for compute, and they focused on training. Then the memory dense inference systems, they are optimized for serving long context users, have huge memory capacity, advanced caching systems, possibly specialized hardware. So essentially, the claim is that we are no longer just scaling compute, we are architecting entirely different hardware stacks for inference versus training. What this post is really saying is that if a model truly has a 2 million token context persistent state, massive scale, then memory architecture becomes the central competitive battlefield. Not just bigger GPUs, more parameters, but faster memory hierarchies, smarter KV management, cross-chip memory fabrics. That's the memory wars. So a lot of technical things, and I think just just reading this breakdown by ChatGPT, I think I learned a lot about KV cache explosion. I didn't know about it, but then you sort of just learn everything new, and that's what I mean. Like, I didn't know about the fast mode that we have, the priority parameter that is there. So yeah, a couple of new things that I also learned today. Even though I thought that I was, I'm quite on top of what goes on in AI and all the developments, but then every day you kind of learn that, hey, yeah, no, you are not actually, there are still things that you don't know about. So yeah, that is the update that I have for you. So will GPT 5.4 come this week? I don't know. I definitely, since we have code references, then yes, I think we should get it soon, but I think we will probably get 5.3 before we get 5.4. But why are they then sort of saying referencing 5.4? Well, maybe they are sort of working on it internally, and maybe it was a typo, maybe it was, but typos don't happen twice, do they? So yeah, 5.4 is definitely going to be out, but when it's out is the question here really. So yeah, that's all that I have for you. The speculation remains rife on when GPT 5.4 is released. If you want, you can follow all the discussion on Twitter. That is the place to be if you want to sort of just stay in the loop. Okay, when 5.4 is coming on, and then you also saw that there is this drama that keeps happening. People say, hey, this guy's lying, and then we also have engineers from OpenAI on X, and then they accidentally put up a pull request or push a code which says 5.4, and then like, oh, no, we shouldn't have done that. Then they sort of redact it and edit it out to be 5.3 code extension. So I just found all that hilarious. But anyway, that's why it's sort of X is a great place to be in if you are sort of like a nerd, an AI nerd. So yeah, definitely go check out there. I'll link all the sources down below, and I hope you found the video helpful. If that was the case, then make sure you give it a thumbs up, like, follow, subscribe, etc. You know the drill, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.